An iconic musician was pushed to the brink, and while his bandmates could see the warning signs, they were powerless to stop the worst. His story is just one of many superstars who never made it to their 30th birthday. Australian actor Heath Ledger rose through the Hollywood ranks after a star-making performance in the 1999 rom-com 10 Things I Hate About You. He ascended to the next level with his Oscar-nominated turn in 2005's Brokeback Mountain, alongside Jake Gyllenhaal as a pair of cowboys grappling with their feelings for each other. But it was Ledger's performance as the Joker in 2008's The Dark Knight that really cemented his showbiz legacy. He won an Academy Award for that villainous turn, but it was awarded posthumously and accepted by his family, as he died several months before The Dark Knight's release. On January 22, 2008, Ledger's massage therapist found him lying on his bed in his lower Manhattan apartment. She tried to wake him, but he was unresponsive. She called Ledger's friend Mary-Kate Olsen for help and then dialed 911. Efforts to resuscitate him were unsuccessful. According to the New York City Medical Examiner's office, the cause of death was acute intoxication from the combined effects of multiple drugs. Ledger was only 28. Swedish electronic musician Tim Bergling, better known as Avicii, established himself as one of the hottest DJs in the world in the 2010s. With hit singles like Levels, Wake Me Up, and You Make Me, he delighted audiences around the globe. But then in 2016, he surprisingly announced his retirement from touring. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he admitted that he did so out of his concern for his own health. But then just a couple of years later, on April 20th, 2018, Avicii died in Muscat, the capital city of Oman. His family issued a statement a few days later that read, "He really struggled with thoughts about meaning, life, happiness. He could not go on any longer. He wanted to find peace. Tim was not made for the business machine he found himself in. He was a sensitive guy who loved his fans but shunned the spotlight." It was eventually reported that Avicii died by suicide. He was only 28.
If you're jumping out of a plane, you get a kick because you're playing with the feeling of almost dying.
Brad Renfro's movie career began as a child actor in the 1994 legal thriller The Client. In the role of Mark Sway, he dazzled everyone from audition to final cut. His outstanding debut performance kick-started his journey in Hollywood, which included other notable films like Sleepers and Apt Pupil. Renfro's career stumbled a bit when he was a teenager, as he got into legal trouble for some drug-related issues. Then, on the morning of January 15, 2008, his friends found him at his Los Angeles apartment and realized that he wasn't breathing. He was pronounced dead a short while later. He was only 25. According to the Los Angeles County coroner, he died from acute heroin and morphine intoxication. Son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, Brandon Lee followed in his father's footsteps with a movie career of his own. The younger Lee made a name for himself in action flicks like 1991's Showdown in Little Tokyo and 1992's Rapid Fire. Then the lead role in 1994's The Crow offered him something a little different. It was an opportunity to flex his acting muscles in a tragic tale about death, vengeance, and rebirth. However, an on-set accident ended up costing him his life. The stunt that proved to be fatal was seemingly nothing out of the ordinary. Lee's co-star Michael Massey fired blanks from a distance at him with his .44 caliber gun. Lee was carrying a grocery bag that contained a special effects device that would detonate for added effect. After Massey fired, Lee dropped to the floor, but then he didn't get up. Crew members rushed over to check on him and noticed that he was bleeding, so they called for an ambulance, but he ended up dying in the hospital. He was only 28.
It wasn't supposed to happen for a myriad of reasons.
As it turned out, the prop gun had been improperly loaded. A broken metal tip from a dummy bullet had remained in the chamber, so when Massey fired the gun, it ended up piercing Lee's body. After being kicked out of Black Sabbath in 1979, Ozzy Osbourne bounced back in dramatic fashion with his own solo band. His albums Blizzards of Oz and Diary of a Madman became major successes, thanks in large part to guitarist Randy Rhoads' genius riffs and shredding solos. The former Quiet Riot co-founder brought an edge to Osbourne's music, and the pair appeared to be destined for even more greatness.
If it wasn't for Randy Rhoads, I know I wouldn't be here.
Alas, Rhoads' burgeoning career ended on March 19, 1982, when he died in an accident at the age of 25, along with makeup artist Rachel Youngblood and bus driver Andrew Aycock. Rhoads took a plane from a nearby hangar on a joyride. Aycock's pilot license was expired, but he flew the plane anyway. He ended up hitting the tour bus and losing control. The plane then hit a tree and crashed into a house, killing Rhoads, Youngblood, and Aycock. Love Will Tear Us Apart is the signature song of the English post-punk band Joy Division. It's also a tough listen for anyone associated with the group, as it was released just 1 month after lead singer Ian Curtis died by suicide on May 18, 1980 at the age of 23. In 2011, Joy Division bassist Peter Hook opened up about this tumultuous period to The Guardian. He explained how his former bandmate attempted to kill himself on 2 prior occasions. Curtis had been suffering from epilepsy and experienced several blackouts during the sessions for their album Closer, but when he was around his bandmates, he pretended like everything was fine. Hook also criticized their manager and record label for pushing Curtis to perform and record, even when he was clearly unable to. Hook recalled that fateful day when Curtis died by revealing, "I heard what happened when I got a call from a policeman. It was horrible, mind-numbing shock, and it's very difficult to live with as a memory. I can remember it like it was yesterday."
I don't think he wanted to say to me, Barney and Steve, "You know what, I'm too ill to do this. I need to stop."
A second-generation Joshi professional wrestler, Hana Kimura, competed for a number of promotions, most notably World Wonder Ring Stardom. In 2019, she joined the reality show Terrace House, Tokyo 2019-2020. But then an on-air incident with a fellow cast member led to her being cyberbullied by viewers. In May 2020, Kimura took to social media to open up about the vitriol she endured. As she wrote, "I don't want to be a human anymore. It was a life I wanted to be loved." On May 23, 2020, Kimura took her own life. She was only 22. Her death sent shockwaves through the wrestling world, with multiple superstars sending out heartfelt memorial messages. In the wake of her passing, her mother, Kyoko, embarked on efforts to bring those who abused her daughter to justice. Subsequently, several individuals have been identified and fined for their social media posts. Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious B.I.G., ascended to the very top of the rap game in the early 1990s. As one of the central figures of the East Coast hip-hop scene, he made a name for himself with infectious tunes like Juicy and Big Papa. But then when he was only 24, he was killed in a drive-by shooting. On March 9, 1997, Biggie and his entourage were stopped at a traffic light when another vehicle approached. The driver of the other vehicle pulled a gun and shot the rapper 4 times. His friends rushed him to the hospital, where he went into surgery, but he was pronounced dead soon afterward. Despite the eyewitnesses and the overwhelming evidence gathered throughout the years, the case of Biggie's murder remains unsolved nearly 3 decades later. However, there are various theories about who may have been involved.
A quarter of a century later, the slaying remains officially unsolved, a case steeped in conspiracy theories and alleged cover-ups.
Infusing the sounds of the past with the present, Avenged Sevenfold created a hard-hitting style that catapulted them to the forefront of the metal scene. One of the core reasons for the Californian band's success was their drummer Jimmy the Rev Sullivan. He kept everyone in time, and his bandmates often considered him the most talented in their crew. In 2009, Avenged Sevenfold were still hot off the success of their 2007 self-titled album, and they were galloping onward and upward to new frontiers on the global music stage. But then tragedy struck on December 28th, when news broke that Sullivan had died at the age of 28. According to the Orange County coroner's autopsy report, Sullivan's death was ruled accidental and attributed to intoxication from the combined effects of oxycodone, oxymorphone, diazepam, nordiazepam, and ethanol. Avenged Sevenfold honored their late drummer by dedicating their 2010 album Nightmare and the single So Far Away to him. Cliff Burton was the bassist for Metallica in the heavy metal band's early days, as the group released 3 thrashing albums: 1983's Kill 'Em All, 1984's Ride the Lightning, and 1986's Master of Puppets. The success of those releases set them on a wild path to superstardom, but then tragedy struck. In 1986, Metallica was on a European tour to promote Master of Puppets when a terrible accident happened. On September 27th, they were driving through Sweden on the way to the next stop on their tour, but then their driver lost control of the bus as it slipped off the road. Burton was flung out of the window as the bus toppled onto him and killed him instantly. He was only 24. Years later, Metallica guitarist Kirk Hammett looked back on the ordeal during an episode of VH1's Behind the Music. He opened up about the harrowing moment when he knew that Burton was gone. As he recalled, "I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff, and I thought, oh my God, something's wrong. I turned around and saw Cliff's legs sticking out from underneath the bus."
After that, I was in such shock that everything else for the next 3 or 4 hours, I can't even remember.
The murder of Sharon Tate remains one of the most notorious deaths in Hollywood history. On August 9, 1969, she and 4 others were killed in her Los Angeles home by members of the infamous Manson family, which was led by Charles Manson. According to Los Angeles County Coroner Dr. Thomas T. Noguchi, Tate was stabbed repeatedly, slashed, and hanged by the perpetrators. While testifying at a trial for Manson and 3 members of his family, Dr. Noguchi noted, "My opinion was, and my opinion is still the same, that the cause of death was multiple stab wounds front and back penetrating the heart and lungs and causing massive hemorrhaging." Before her death, Tate's star had been on the rise in Hollywood, thanks to performances in films such as Valley of the Dolls and The Fearless Vampire Killers. The latter was directed by Roman Polanski, whom Tate married in 1968. She was pregnant with their child at the time of her death. Despite her talent, she's often remembered more for the tragic events surrounding her passing at the age of 26 than her on-screen abilities. Aaliyah was an undeniably talented R&B singer, as well as a rising big-screen star. Action fans remember her for her starring turn alongside Jet Li in 2000's Romeo Must Die, while horror buffs know her as the seductive vampire Akasha in 2002's Queen of the Damned. What's remarkable is that Aaliyah achieved all of this by the age of 22, and what's so sad is knowing how much she could have accomplished. On August 25, 2001, she was on a chartered plane from the Bahamas to Florida, but then it ended up crashing, and all 9 people on board died. An investigation later determined that the plane was 700 pounds over its regulation weight. According to the doctor who conducted the autopsy on Aaliyah, she experienced burns and trauma to her head. As he testified at an inquest in 2003, Aaliyah went into such a state of shock, even if she had survived the crash, recovery would have been near impossible. If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction issues or is struggling or in crisis, contact the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP 4357.